Okay, BA, it's showtime.
Welcome to my kitchen. I hope you survive. This is going to be the first in a small cooking series that I intend to do called Crockpot Meals for Real Men. The first dish that I'm going to show you how to make is something that I came up with many years ago. It's called Midway hash. Now, before I show you how to make Midway hash and give you the story behind it, let me give you a warning. When I say meals for real men, I mean this. These meals are in no way low calorie, low fat, low cholesterol, low sugar, low gluten, gluten-free, sugar-free, carb-free, low carb, low protein, or any of them other things. These are made to do to do two things: fill you up and taste good. And they do. So if you're worried about all those other things, then this is not the recipe for you. There's plenty of other vegan, low this, low that, usually low taste cooking recipes on YouTube. You probably want to go check out one of those. But if you're a real man and taste is your #1 criteria, then stay tuned, because you're going to like this particular recipe. I call this Midway hash because I came up with the recipe when I was stationed on Midway Island, and when I was just a young 19-year-old sailor at my first duty station, which was Naval Facility Naval Facility Midway Island. The job that I did there was required me to work odd shift work, so my schedule rarely met up with the schedules of chow hall. So most meals I was on my own. So in my barracks room, I had a crock pot and a small electric skillet. And I would keep a small supply of food in my locker, mostly canned goods, but we did have a small refrigerator in the room, so I could keep other things there. Well, one day on one of my off days, I needed to fix something for a meal. Well, I looked in my locker and looked at my food supply. I didn't see anything that I felt like would by itself make a meal. So I got to thinking, well, why not take all these items, throw them in the crock pot, cook it up, let's see how they are. So that's the genesis of Midway hash. Since then, I've tweaked it a little bit here and there till I've got the current recipe, and everybody that I've ever tried it on likes it. They always go back for seconds. It's not the best looking dish in the world, but it tastes a whole lot better than it looks. So let's get on with it. First thing you'll need, you're going to need a crock pot. I just have a your basic crock pot. The ingredients that you're going to need for this are 1 pound of ground beef. I like to use ground chuck. Yes, it has more fat, but that's why I like to use it, because it has more flavor and it stays moist. You're going to need a can of Armor Treat. You can use Spam if that's what you've got in your storage. I have used Spam for this before, but I much prefer the Armor Treat. The taste just is better. But, your taste buds may vary. You'll need a can of tomato soup. I always use Campbell's because that's pretty much what I always used. You can use whatever brand you want. You'll need 1 can of Campbell's cheddar cheese soup. And 1 can of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. And lastly, you'll need 1 can of whole kernel sweet corn. And you'll need a pan to brown your meat in. The first thing that you're going to want to do is to brown your pound of meat. So I'm going to go do that now, and I'll come back when the meat is ready. Okay, we're back from browning the meat. Once you've browned the meat, you want to go ahead and drain off the excess grease, unless you don't want to, and then you want to make it even more flavorful. While we were browning the meat, we opened up the cans, and you take the treat out of the can, and using a cheese grater, you just grate it all up into a pile. Now, it's time to put it all together. There's no specific sequence of this. This is just the way I've always done it, and I'm in a habit of. First, you take the meat and dump that in the crock pot. It's still hot, so be careful. Okay. Now, just kind of break up the big chunks. Alright. The next, I'll usually dump in the tomato soup. Get it all in there. The reason I put in the wetter soups before I start putting in the other solid ingredients is that it just makes it a little easier to mix it all up with the ground beef and get it blended better. Okay. All right, that takes care of the tomato soup. Next, put in the cream of mushroom soup. The thing about this particular recipe, this particular dish, that makes it so good is the blending of all the different flavors. As well as the ease with which it is prepared. Because remember, I was a 19-year-old sailor, single, living in a barracks. I had to come up with things that were simple. Now take that and kind of mix that up together with the meat in here. Just a good basic stir. Don't get it all mixed in. Okay. And next, we'll go ahead and put in the cheddar cheese soup. I have no idea what the nutritional breakdown is of this dish when it's done. I suppose I could check the labels and sit down and add all the stuff up, but you know what? I don't really care. It tastes good, so and it fills you up. Alright. Okay, next we'll dump in the can of corn. You also want to drain the juice out of the corn before you do. Okay, give that a good mixing. And lastly, dump in the shredded Armor Treat. And mix everything together. As you can see, this will make a pretty full crock pot. So you can feed several people out of this, or feed a couple of people for a couple of days. Since it's usually just my wife and I, usually we'll say we eat about, between the two of us, we'll eat about half the crock pot full one day, and then we'll save the rest in the refrigerator for the next day. And it tastes just as good the next day as it does the first day. Alright. Now all you need to do, put the lid back on it, plug in your crock pot and turn it on high. And then go away and do something else for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. After an hour and a half, 2 hours, come back, stir it, and put the lid back on it, and then go away and leave it alone for about another hour, hour and a half. It's no real set time. Alright, well, it's about an hour and a half later, so it's time to stir the pot. As you can see, it's in the process of blending, cooking, blending. Mostly, you're just trying to get it unstuck from around the sides and get it mixed up. And just a little bit of stir. That's all it takes. And then just let it sit and cook for the next hour and a half to 2 hours, and then we'll be back and show you the final product. It's been about another hour and a half since we stirred it the first time. As you can see, it's bubbling up pretty good, so at that point you can tell that it's done. So we turn off the crock pot and take the lid off. And we're going to want to stir it for the final time so we get all the juices and goodness and everything all mixed up in here. And as you can see, like I said, it may not look that great looking at it, but believe me, it tastes just fine. And to prove that, I'm going to let my cameraman John have a taste. He's never tried it before, so this will be a fair and unbiased taste test. I'll just get him some here. A couple of spoonfuls. Make sure I get all the good stuff in there. And okay, we're back, and it's time for the taste test. This is John, my cameraman.
How you doing?
There you go. Be careful, it's really hot.
That's all right.
So you definitely need to blow on it.
Mmm. It's very good.
Try another one.
Mmm, taste the cheddar cheese. Very much. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to finish it.
I don't blame you. Everybody does. I've had a lot of people that the first time they see it, they look at it and say, oh, it looks like puke. But then they take it and they taste it and they always come back for more.
I can believe it.
And I believe you will too. So this is Midway Hash. This is the first episode of Meals for Real Men. The next time I'll be doing my chili recipe. That probably won't be till next month though. So until then, good eating and goodbye.